you are alive.
Today I thought we'd talk a little bit about self-care and specifically some rituals that I like to do pretty much on a daily basis. I think when you look into self-care and you see a lot of people sort of doing self-care activities online, it can feel a little bit intimidating in the sense that they tend to spend quite a long time doing things, whereas I prefer to do small things on a regular basis to really like nourish my mind and body. So they're a bit more realistic, and that's the kind of self-care ritual I wanted to share with you guys today. So you will have seen already part of my morning routine. So something I do every morning is I move my body. I tend to do this in the morning because this is when I have the most energy and it means I can kind of get it out first thing, and I do a range of different workouts. This morning I did a bit more of a sort of a HIIT workout, but if I'm not feeling up to that, I do maybe more of Pilates, maybe a yoga based workout. I tend to do more of a relaxing sort of stretching yoga in the evenings as well, and I tend to walk every day, so I move throughout my day, but I like to get a bit more of a intense bit of exercise in the morning, and it's really good for my mental health as well. And then I follow that up with some meditation. It's something I'm really trying to get back into, and I use the app Aura because they have like a great range of meditations on there, and a lot of them are really short, which is great for people like me who are beginners with meditation and struggle with it a little bit. But I've been doing it consistently for the last couple of weeks, and I found actually doing it after I work out is quite a good time because I kind of got all the anxious energy and sort of morning energy out my system a little bit. So it gives me, you can have like 5-10 minutes of just sitting down, listening to a meditation. I find it is a great way to set your mindset up for the day. And another new ritual that I have been doing is I make myself a nutritional drink from Live Better, who are kindly sponsoring this week's video. So I have 1 scoop of this in water in the morning, and I tend to have it first thing because that's the best time to absorb all the best nutrients, and then I have my workout and do my breakfast later on in the day. This drink is of course 100% vegan, and it's packed full of scientifically proven healthy ingredients such as iron, potassium, vitamin B12, and that's especially good considering I do eat a plant-based diet. It makes it really easy to get all the vitamins you need in a day in one place, which I really love. I've really enjoyed adding this self-care ritual to my routine, and if you would like to try Live Better yourself, you can sign up to a subscription with them for just $39, which is a special price that they are kindly offering my audience. I'll drop all the information about Live Better in the description and the links so you can go and check them out yourself. But now it's another time for another one of my self-care rituals, and that is to go outside. I decided to come up into the hills because it's been really heavy rain over the last couple of days, so I thought our local lower down river walks will probably be flooded, and I changed it into my wellies because I think it could also be flooded up here with the amount of rain we got, although to be fair that's not that safe because I have a hole unfortunately in one of my wellies, but it's quite far up, so if I walk with like a heel up a little bit it should be fine. But yeah, hopefully we'll have a nice dry walk, but I think we could be hit with a bit of snow, rain, sleet, and definitely some wind, which you can probably hear. So kind of typical Scottish weather really. But I just love the view from this parking spot. Isn't it gorgeous? So lucky to live here. I was going to try and talk to you guys outside, but I was like, there's no way they'll hear me in this wind, so we are back at the car. It's no exaggeration to say that getting outside every day really has changed my life. So I'm lucky that I've always lived, well, often lived at least in rural locations. When I was growing up, we often lived rurally, and my parents did encourage us to get outside and play with nature and stuff. So it was a big part of my childhood, but
It definitely fell away a little bit when I went to university, which I think is quite common. I was in the city when I went to university and didn't drive, so I couldn't access more rural areas, and I was all caught up obviously in all the usual kind of social stuff and obviously studying as well at uni, and it took a while to get back to it, although luckily my family live on the Isle of Arran, so I always managed to go home in the holidays and spend a little bit of time in nature. But it's been really since I moved to the Scottish Highlands, which is 6 years ago now, that I've really fully embraced getting back in nature, especially since she's not there now typically, but I've had Sky in my life. Obviously having a dog means you kind of have to go outside every day, but even when I'm not feeling up to it, there's some days that I don't know, the weather's terrible, or I may be very tired or maybe under the weather. My partner obviously is very happy to take her out as well. I don't need to go out. I pretty much always force myself to do so. It's very, very rare. Even when I'm quite ill, I don't go outside, even if I just sit in the garden for 10 minutes to get a little bit of fresh air. And it just is my number one self-care ritual out of everything I do. It's fundamental for obviously my physical health, getting outside and walking, but more so for my mental health, because I do struggle with some anxiety, and I do identify as more of a highly sensitive person. So getting that kind of space to be alone, and that's why a lot of the time I do go for walks with my partner sometimes, but he respects that I need this time just to be by myself. Especially as we share a tiny home together, so we are together quite a lot, and have that time to kind of be in nature. It really always helps lift my mood and puts things in perspective, and I often find that I have my best reflection, thoughts, ideas when I walk as well. It's no matter the weather, we are outside every single day, and I'm so grateful that obviously I have so much nature on my doorstep, but I really think you can find nature anywhere. If you look, I'm reading a great book at the moment that I've now completely forgotten the name of, so I'll put it on screen. It's by Melissa Harrison anyway, but she talks about, it's like her nature diary, and a lot of the time she's actually based in London, so she's showing how you can really like notice nature no matter where you are. So it's very important to me. But another great thing about going outside on a cold day is going back home, and I think I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to make nice warm lunch for myself.
Looking a little bit windswept, but back at the tiny home, and I'm going to be making some lunch. And I've got some leftover lentil soup that I made the weekend. I tend to try and do a little bit of food prep on the weekend, as you saw. Was it my last video I did my Sunday vlog? I can't remember now, but recently anyway, on a Sunday in particular, especially in the winter, I like to cook up a soup, and this is a really easy one to do and really cheap to do as well. So I'll link the recipe down below because it's online if you want to check it out. But one of my other self-care rituals is everything surrounding food basically. I like to take time to have proper breaks in the day. I think lunch in particular is something people tend to like rush over or skip, or maybe choose something that's like convenience and maybe not that healthy. Don't get me wrong, sometimes that's me as well, but this makes it a bit easier for me to actually take the time to sit down, relax, and sort of switch my brain off from work for a little bit. It's one of my favourite actually points of the day, is to just sort of switch off and enjoy my lunch. And I'll maybe watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast. Occasionally I'll sit and chat with my partner or just stare into space, but basically it's a time to really just check in with myself. It's a really nice little bit of self-care, especially when I've got some yummy healthy food to eat as well. So I'm going to cook this up and get nice and warmed up. Another wee ritual I like to do is my skincare, and a few of you have been asking about what my routine is, so I thought I would share that with you. I keep my skincare really simple, I always have. At the moment I'm using products from Subtract, so I worked with them a couple of months ago, so they kind of gifted me products as part of that, and they are really lovely products, so it's a great privilege to be able to use them. So essentially in the morning I just wash my face when I'm in the shower. I don't tend to cleanse in the morning because I tend to have dry skin, and I find if I cleanse twice a day it can really kind of dry it out a bit. So in the morning I've actually been using their vitamin C bar. It comes in this cute little box as well, which is quite handy because all of their skincare is like solid. This is just their wee vitamin C bar, and I put that on first thing and let that soak in. And it's been quite interesting to see how my skin's reacted to that, because I've never actually used vitamin C products, and I do think it is getting a little bit brighter, so I think it's doing something. And then I just follow up with their moisturising bar, and in the evenings that's when I cleanse my face, so I just use their cleansing bar and again follow back up with the moisturiser, and that's really it. I don't do anything too elaborate, but I think since I've been spending a little bit more time thinking about, you know, my skincare, and particularly as I've been using really lovely products, I think it's a really nice way to sort of start and end your day, and it definitely feels like, you know, you're physically kind of looking after yourself, so it definitely feels like a little bit of a self-care ritual, but one that I'm able to keep really simple. It's getting a little bit towards the end of the day now, so I'm going to be making myself a cup of tea and chatting about my last self-care ritual of the day. It's probably not a surprise to regular viewers that my last self-care ritual I wanted to share with you guys is reading. So reading is a really big part of my life. It's one of the main ways I slow down, and it offers a brilliant escapism for me, and it's something I like to do later on in the afternoon as my way of kind of shutting down from work and starting to get into my evening. And I like to read a whole variety of different things through the day as well, but this time of day I try and set aside to read a little bit of non-fiction. Actually, I tend to read fiction later on into the evening, so at the moment I am reading this beautiful book here, which is quite appropriate for my channel I suppose, Slow Seasons by Rosie Steer. And funny story, I actually got this for my mum her birthday in December, but she'd already bought it for herself, which I knew was quite a high risk that she would do so, because she's like me, she loves to live slowly, and especially she loves to live seasonally. And this book is all about the Celtic seasons essentially, and it says it's a creative guide to reconnecting with nature the Celtic way, and it's really lovely. And I'm reading it through the year. That's how I decided to read it. So I read the first bit of the first season at the beginning of the year, and now we're getting to February, we're going into a new season in the Celtic calendar, so I thought I would read up on that. I think you say it's called Ostara, but I just think it's such a beautiful book. Like, the illustrations on the inside are really lovely, and it's right up my street, so I thought I would start reading through this. And each section doesn't take a huge amount of time, but it's a whole mix of like information and rituals in itself, and like recipes, like this stuff like how to make your own wild garlic pesto and stuff in here. So yeah, I'll drop this down below, and also Rosie has a Substack that I follow, so I'll drop a link to that as well in case you want to check out her writing. So although I like to do all of these rituals every day, they do vary in the amount of time I put towards them. You know, if there's some days that I've got quite a lot of work on, or I'm quite busy, or I'm just not feeling doing a long workout or a longer walk or reading or anything like that, then I just try and shorten them rather than drop them completely, because that way they remain a habit. And no matter how little time you have for this kind of self-care, I still think it's beneficial to do something, even if it's only like 3 or 4 minutes a day. I think that's maybe something I try to get across. I know that maybe some people have a lot less time than me. You know, I don't have children, I'm self-employed, I'm able to live a bit more slowly and a bit more to my own rhythm, but I do think that looking after yourself is so important and completely fundamental, and it doesn't have to be really complicated. It's all about looking at your day and realistically finding little moments that you can set aside a little bit of time for yourself, and choosing things that you would like to do that would nourish you, because of course the things that nourish me won't necessarily be the same for you. You might like to do other things instead. So for instance, like my mother, she's an artist, so doing something creative every day is kind of like her equivalent to me reading every day, although I am trying to do something creative most days now as well, but it's different. You know, what she needs is slightly different to what I need, and we're all different, so that makes complete sense. So I think the biggest advice I would say is to start slow,
maybe pick up one, you know, maybe one new ritual, or maybe something you already do but you'd like to do a bit more often or spend a little bit more time on. And don't put loads of pressure on yourself. I think particularly, I know we're in February now, but there's still that kind of New Year sort of content online, New Year, New Me, which I talked a little bit about in my New Year reset vlog. I very much prefer to look at setting intentions rather than goals in the new year, and looking at how I live as opposed to trying to reach all these goals that might be a little bit too ambitious and unrealistic. And also don't be afraid to change things, you know, it's your life, it's your self-care rituals. So I like to kind of reflect and review. I use my So Living planner actually that I sell on my Etsy store, my Notion planner, to have like a review at the end of each month. I find that really useful, just to have a little reflection on how the month went, and looking at how I'm looking after myself and my self-care rituals is part of that review. And I change things because my life changes, you know, I can't always predict what's going to come into my life, but I think having these kind of basic self-care rituals I can go back to again and again are a wonderful way of keeping in touch with myself, looking after myself, and living a slow life that I really enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about these rituals, and of course please do share your own below if you have any of your own rituals. I'd love to hear about them. And remember, if you want to get that special offer with Live Better, then all the information is down in my description below. And I hope you have a lovely, slow Sunday evening, and I will speak to you guys next time.